Ron Rivera's at peace, and maybe Eric Bieniemy is not so inflexible. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg, and this channel is dedicated to the Washington Commanders football team. If you're down with that, then please consider subscribing. And when you do, make sure you hit that notification bell. So, Ron Rivera said that he is at peace with his tenure here in Washington. And, we can only interpret that as saying that he understands that he's out by the end of the season, so he feels like he's done a good job. And, that's about as well as I can interpret the at peace. He probably feels that what he's done is the best that he could do, and there's nothing more that he can do to rectify the situation. He realizes there's going to be big changes because, guess what? Anytime that you have ownership changes, unless that you take the team deep into the playoffs, if not the Super Bowl, there's going to be some major changes. And Ron Rivera realizes this. He went through this in Carolina when David Tepper took over. And so he knows that he is out in Washington. He knows you end the season at 4-13, there's a high possibility that happens. At best, probably one more win on the season, but right now a lot of us are looking at that going, who are we going to beat? So Ron Rivera, he is at the point where he realizes I'm probably done, but I'm going to do the best I can till the season's in, and then I'm going to tip my hat and I'm going to move on. And that's the gentleman way to do it. And you know what? I respect Ron Rivera, I really do. All of us are, as fans, we're probably done with Ron Rivera. We are. There's no probability to it. We're ready to move on to the next head coach. But I will say I have respected Ron Rivera as a man. I think he's done what he could possibly do in Washington. I wanted Ron Rivera. I was so happy and thrilled when we hired Ron Rivera. I really felt that he could turn this team into a winning team, a team that at worst you're going to see a team that's maybe 8-8, 8-1, 9-8, somewhere around there. And he kind of did that for the most part, but he never really turned them into winners. And that's a problem. It doesn't take 4 or 5 years to do it. And I know a lot of people will probably disagree with that, but that's just it. And in today's NFL, if you're able to get the right players, you're able to build the right way, then it should not take that long. If you're getting the right coaching staff together, it shouldn't take that long. And the problem is that maybe we didn't get the right coaching staff surrounding Ron Rivera. Maybe we didn't get the right players in certain places. And that's 90% of football right there. Obviously, we could look at Ron Rivera during certain phases of football games, and we say that situational football, Ron Rivera was lost. There were certain times where game management had passed him by, and we're scratching our heads of like, why is Ron Rivera not challenging this play, or why did he challenge this play, or why didn't he call timeout during this time? There were a lot of things that we could critique him on. But in the end, he certainly battled a lot of things. That first year, battling cancer, that was a big deal. And losing his mother. Trust me, I know a lot about losing a parent. I lost my dad in 2022, and I'm still grieving over that. So I understand fully. It takes a lot out of you, and there's a lot of responsibility as it is being a head coach. All the stuff that was going around, above him, the front office, meaning the ownership, there was a lot to deal with. So Ron Rivera it wasn't smooth sailing anywhere else, and all that he had to do was coach. I do realize that. There were a lot of cards stacked against Rivera. But in the end, it really comes down to, guess what? Wins and losses. That's what you're ultimately judged on in the NFL. And unfortunately for Ron Rivera, he's likely to end his tenure in Washington, probably likely not to win more than 4 or 5 games. So then the question is, does he leave Washington in better shape than what he did when he found them? Well, in terms of wins and losses, not really. Really winds up leaving them roughly about the same spot. Did he improve the roster? In some areas, yeah, I think quarterback position was improved. I like Sam Howell. I think he's got a future. Running back position, I think we've got some quality running backs. I think we've always had good quality running backs, but I'm really excited with Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez. I don't know what the future is with Antonio Gibson, but it's been kind of a love-hate relationship. I've only disliked Gibson when he fumbled, but when he didn't, he's an electric player. I just love Gibson when he doesn't turn over the football. So in the backfield, outstanding running backs, outstanding wide receivers, and Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson. I don't know if all of those guys are going to be back next year. Well, we know Jahan Dotson will. Terry McLaurin, we know he'll be back. Curtis Samuel, is he going to be back? Don't know. But overall, this is what I will say. I will say that I think that what we need to concentrate on is the fact that Ron Rivera was, overall, I think he was a good leader for the team. I think there was a reason, there was a purpose. I think it was a good stopgap, but overall, this team really needs somebody who's going to take them, obviously, to the next level. And not just a head coach that is going to get them to mid-level and that's it. They need someone who's going to get the franchise back into perennial playoff contention every single year and ultimately back to the Super Bowl. That's what all of us fans should expect, and that's what we need to have. Now, moving on from Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy, RG3 interviewed Sam Howell. Now, of course, Sam Howell seems like he has always been very pro Eric Bieniemy from the get-go. He loves Eric Bieniemy, and he had nothing bad to say about Eric Bieniemy at all. RG3 pointedly asked Sam Howell, he said, now, RG3 said, I am not a rumors guy, or non-source. I like to, he talked about, I like to name sources and stuff, but there were rumors going that players felt that Eric Bieniemy was too tough or, just not inflexible, whatnot. And Sam Howell basically was like, yeah, we heard all of that, and all of us were just surprised by that talk and confused, and nobody has said a word about Eric Bieniemy being too tough. The generalization is they like the fact that Eric Bieniemy is a tough coach on them, and they needed that style of coaching. So all of that's basically false if you talk to Sam Howell. I would like to hear that from some of the other players on the offense, but if you talk to Sam Howell, he says it's rubbish. And Sam Howell has gotten a lot of heat from Eric Bieniemy at times. So if anybody should be complaining about Eric Bieniemy, you would think it would be Sam Howell. So Sam Howell loves it. And honestly, Sam Howell has responded positively to Eric Bieniemy's coaching style. And Sam Howell believes that Eric Bieniemy would make a great head coach. So that being said, maybe we all should rethink our thoughts on Eric Bieniemy as a head coach? Is there somebody in the media who was trying to sabotage the idea of Eric Bieniemy as a head coach? Maybe they don't like Eric Bieniemy, the idea of him being a head coach for is it racial issues? What is it? What is it about Eric Bieniemy that they don't want him as a head coach? I always feel like, it comes down to this. If he passes the sniff test in the interview process, and if overall the core group of players that are going to be in Washington are going to love him, are going to be receptive to his coaching style, then by all means, give him a shot. Give him a shot. Let's see what he can do. Now, the only thing is, with him being head coach, he's really not going to be able to help develop Sam Howell nearly as much because he's going to have other responsibilities. So he's going to have to make sure that he hires the right people. Now, that's going to be paramount. He's going to have to look at the coaching staff and be like, I've got to do better with surrounding myself with the best coaches. That's always the thing you got to think about as a new head coach in the NFL is that's paramount to your success. Who are you going to surround yourself to be successful? And, Eric Bieniemy might be able to be great with the X's and O's and his hard-nosed coaching style, but all that goes down the sewers if you can't have a good sporting cast around you that's going to make you successful. I think that's what kind of hurt Ron Rivera. I don't think he surrounded himself with the best head or the best assistant coaches. And I think because of that, Ron Rivera was not successful. So it really comes down to all of that as well. So overall, my thought process is I am open to Eric Bieniemy led head coaching for the Washington Commanders. But, let's see. I want the best person to win, not based on color, not based on, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. I want it based on resume. I want it based on the best possible candidate. And ultimately, that's who I want because, quite frankly, I want this team to go to the Super Bowl. And that should be what everybody wants over anything else. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, give it a share, leave me a comment. That said, I will see you in the next one.